Morning, guys. It's Tuesday, July 15th, 5:24 a.m. Central Time. Grain markets are mixed to lower this morning. December corn futures down 2 3/4 at 415 1/4. November soybeans down 3 1/4 at 1003 3/4. December Chicago wheat down 3 1/4 at 559. December Kansas City wheat down 3 3/4 at 541 3/4. September spring wheat up 1.5 at 605. We had a little bit of a bounce in the corn market yesterday. Why don't we start there?
So the December 25 contract posted fresh life of contract lows prior to the rally. The contract gained nearly 6 cents on the day. The gains were driven by short covering and bargain buying as prices remained near multi-month lows. However, further upside was capped by a favorable weather forecast and expectations for a record large crop. The market also remains cautious amid President Trump's recent escalation of tariff threats.
So we come in Sunday night, we open lower on, weekend rains, tariff threats, that sort of thing. Post fresh life of contract lows early yesterday, and then bounce and close the day higher. So it's a good looking reversal to the upside. It does not meet the textbook definition of a key reversal. The contract closed exactly to the tick at the prior day's high, and what you would have liked to have seen is a close above the prior day's high. I'm probably splitting hairs there. It's a good looking action. Do these reversals mean anything? I mean, 60% of the time they work every time. Like sometimes you'll see an upside reversal like this and you'll be right back down to contract lows the next day. And other times you'll see follow through. It's not a great indicator of anything, but one day action in a vacuum, yeah, it looks pretty good. Here's our friend Brian Splitt on Twitter. He said this about the December corn contract. Dece corn is in a well-defined downward trending channel, but hit bottom of channel last night. Top of channel is back at your spring insurance price, which would be 470 for December corn. And 470, of course, feels like it's miles and miles and miles away right now, given the way that the market's acted, given what we've heard about the crop. But that's the technical story, and Brian is much, much smarter than me when it comes to that stuff and everything else also. So maybe something to be optimistic about. I don't know. We'd love to see some follow-through buying this morning. To go back to that daily chart, you've got that gap from Sunday night a week ago. It's in like the 430 to 433 neighborhood. That's going to be kind of your first area of resistance. So maybe something to be optimistic about here.
U.S. corn conditions remain exceptionally strong. As of Sunday, 74% of the crop was rated good to excellent nationally, steady with the prior week, and well above the 5-year average of 65%. The rating was the highest for the week since 2016 and the second highest in the past decade. Just 5% of the crop was rated poor to very poor, unchanged from last week. The U.S. soybean crop posted a significant improvement in its good to excellent rating, which rose to 70%, up from 66% the previous week and above the 5-year average of 62%. Similar to the corn crop, the rating was the highest for the week since 2016 and also the second highest in the last 10 years. Only 5% of the crop is rated poor to very poor, poor to very poor, down from 7% last week.
All right, now that we've got all that optimism out of the way, let's get back to some negative stuff. So the corn rating, good to excellent nationally, is the second best of the last 10 years. The only year that was better was 2016. And in 2016, the national corn yield ended up 4.6% above trend. The year that was the third best, just behind where we're at this year, was 2018. In 2018, we were 3.3% above trend nationally. If you split the difference between those 2 years, and that's kind of where we're sitting right now, you take your 4.6 and your 3.3, you average it out, you'd be 3.95% above trend, which is a 188 national corn yield. That's not my thought on the corn yield, but there are absolutely people out there running yield models that are going to throw out that sort of stuff. And is that what the market's trading? I think we're trading something close to that. I think I mentioned it either on Friday or earlier this week. I said, I think it's like the market's trading. This is not my opinion of the crop. This is my opinion of what the market is trading. My opinion is that the market's trading something in the 185 to 187 range. I think I said that on Friday. Maybe it's even higher than that. Maybe somebody's trading 187 to 188. I don't know. I know that the crop ratings are deeply flawed. The way that they're compiled is not necessarily super scientific, but in any case, there's going to be people who look at this and jump to those sort of conclusions. You're going to start to see the same stuff with soybean ratings, which are now the second best of the last 10 years. I don't do any yield modeling, but the people that do are going to look at this and say, oh shit, we're going to be X percentage points above trend, which is super bearish, right? So this is not necessarily the feel good bull story to start your day. Let's go to wheat.
U.S. spring wheat ratings improved. As of Sunday, 54% of the crop was rated good to excellent nationally, up from 50% the previous week, but still below the 5-year average of 56%. During the same week last year, the crop was rated 77% good to excellent. Meanwhile, the U.S. winter wheat crop was 63% harvested nationwide through Sunday versus 53% the prior week and 64% on average. Harvest progress is the third slowest in the past decade. During the same week last year, 71% of the crop was harvested.
Couple things here on spring wheat. You saw a bump in ratings, which was not necessarily expected. I think I don't know, the trade guesses I saw weren't looking for it, but the way that the market sold off the last couple of days, it seems like maybe somebody saw this coming. When you look at winter wheat harvest, yeah, we're about average-ish. I understand that there are some quality issues with regard to both the HRW crop and the SRW crop due to excessive moisture. The market does not care, however, and has acted very poorly.
The U.S. Corn Belt is expected to see more rainfall this week. Euro model data this morning suggests that rainfall will be widespread across the region over the next 5 days, and additional rains are likely during the 5 to 10 day period. Following a stretch of below normal temperatures this week, heat is expected to become a factor. Based on Euro model data, our friends at Crop Profit estimate that temperatures across U.S. corn country will average 4.3 degrees above normal during the 8 to 14 day period.
So yeah, a little bit of heat coming back in the extended period, which is, those forecasts are not 100% guaranteed by any stretch of the imagination. To go back to the rainfall totals, what's expected, I'll go back and kind of touch on some of the stuff I mentioned yesterday. Is it possible to see excessive rainfall in places like Iowa and Western Illinois this time of year? The crop is using a lot of water, but at the same time, when you get to extremes, when it comes to anything, whether it's rain, drought, heat, cold, it's not necessarily a good thing. So if you guys have additional thoughts on that this morning, you can drop them in the YouTube video, or you can send me an email, info@standardgrain.com.
If you guys have not checked out our premium content, you sure need to do so. Joe, can you tell our viewers about yesterday's premium video?
My friend Lewis Stearns, who is a well-traveled agronomist, joined me yesterday and talked about U.S. crop prospects and talked about his observations in his travels from the Eastern Corn Belt to the Western Corn Belt. We kind of broke it down by pockets. We said, okay, let's talk about Ohio and, Eastern Indiana and the places that started off really wet and there were some planting issues. Let's talk about maybe some better stuff in the western part of Indiana into, East Central Illinois. Let's talk about the excessive rain. We talked about all of it, and Lewis kind of gave us his thoughts on the state of the crop and what's possible in terms of yields regionally and also nationally. And this is not supposed to be like a prediction of what USDA is going to tell you. It's just kind of like a boots on the ground view of what's going on. If you guys want to see the premium stuff, go to standardgrain.com. You can sign up this morning. This is a $50 per month subscription. You can cancel at any time. There's no other fee. There's no other obligation. Nobody tried to sell you anything else. We do a free show here on YouTube and also on all the podcast apps every single day. But that free show would cease to exist tomorrow if our premium subscribers disappeared. We're not like everybody else on YouTube, Mackenzie. We'll never make any money doing YouTube. It just ain't going to happen. There's not enough people on the planet that care what corn prices do every day to support us on YouTube and YouTube alone. So we need the premium subs to keep this thing afloat. And if you are a premium sub, we love you. If you're not, you should give it a shot. We've got some really good stuff with our friend Pete Meyer today. We're going to run through some of the biofuel stuff. There's been some 45Z news recently. There's been some RVO news recently, and we're going to get into some biofuel specifics a little bit later today. Give that deal a shot this morning, guys.
Brazil's second corn crop harvest continues to trail last year's pace. According to well-followed private group Ag Rural, 40% of the crop had been harvested as of last Thursday. Harvest progress increased by 12 percentage points from the previous week, marking the largest weekly gain so far this season. However, during the same week last year, 74% of the crop was harvested. Despite the slower harvest pace, both the USDA and CONAB are projecting Brazil's total corn production to be record large at 132 million metric tons, up 11% from last season.
Brazil will provide us with some competition on the export market, although we ran a story a week or two ago about how they've had some issues. Soybean shipments are eating up a lot of the port capacity, and therefore corn shipments are slower. And also, you just got a slower harvest pace. When you compare U.S. and Brazil in corn production, the 2024 U.S. corn crop was 2.9 times larger than this year's Brazil crop. That just gives you some context about how big Brazil is relative to the United States. The United States is still very much king as it relates to corn. And that's why, every day this time of year, we're talking about weather and crop prospects. It's the most important thing going on, bar none, in the corn, as far as corn prices are concerned right now, and also the supply and demand situation. When it comes to exports, Brazil is bigger, relatively speaking. The U.S. is still a much bigger exporter. USDA projects Brazil to account for 22% of all corn exports next year. U.S. should be about 35%. So the U.S. is still a much bigger exporter.
U.S. corn shipments were near the lower end of pre-report expectations last week. USDA reported that 51 million bushels of corn were inspected for export during the week ending July 10th. The print was down 18% compared to the previous week, but up 17% versus the same week last year. Soybean shipments fell below expectations at 5 million bushels. The print was down 63% compared to the prior week and down 16% versus the same week last year. Wheat shipments were near the upper end of expectations at 16 million bushels. However, the print was down 16% from the previous week and down 29% versus the same week last year.
So USDA made its big upward revision with regard to old crop corn exports last week. And I think that they're probably good-ish right now with their number. Maybe they could come up a little bit, but they've kind of reconciled that whole issue. Everything else, soybeans, wheat, I don't really have much to say about that.
Bitcoin soared to a new all-time high yesterday. The cryptocurrency gained as much as 3.4% to reach $123,205 before pairing gains. The rally coincides with Crypto Week, during which the House of Representatives will debate and potentially vote on 3 key cryptocurrency bills. The combination of progress toward a more defined U.S. regulatory framework and Bitcoin's resilience despite Trump's turbulent trade policies has strengthened investor confidence. More than $2.7 billion flowed into Bitcoin ETFs last week, the 5th largest weekly net inflow since launch. Year to date, Bitcoin is up roughly 30% after more than doubling last year.
Yeah, pretty impressive stuff. I've got 25% year to date and up almost 80% over the last 1 year. So this thing is a rocket ship with no end in sight. And yeah, people are going to jump in the comments and say it's a bubble, it's a bubble, it's a bubble, it's a bubble that's lasted for 15 years. I mean, maybe it is. I don't know. It's acted awfully well. Interestingly enough, I've done several premium videos on Bitcoin. The first one was in 2021, and we've done a series of them since. So we've kind of been just to brag a little bit. We've been on top of this. So premium subs, you guys know what we've said about Bitcoin over the years, and hope you're making money on it. It's been a rocket ship. What did Cal do yesterday?
Cattle futures were sharply lower. Live cattle were 67 cents to 292 lower. Feeders saw losses ranging from 362 all the way down to 585. Box beef prices continued their downward slide. Choice was down $1.57 at 377.07, and Select was down $1.91 at 364.58.
Are the cattle people talking about retail demand concerns?
Yeah, there's obviously that conversation, especially since the July 4th holiday is passed and we expect beef demand to drop off. And I think that's always in the back of our mind, worried about an economic downturn and how that will affect beef demand. But at the same time, we've been talking about it for a long time, and the consumer just continues to buy that beef. So hopefully they keep doing so.
Everybody gets a new $1,500 iPhone every year. They can afford a steak,
Exactly.
Right? Come on. All right. Outside markets, the Dow's up 10, the S&P's up 27, Treasuries are up just a little bit. The dollar is about flat. Crude oil is down 47 cents, and the August WTI at 66.51. Have a great day, guys. We'll be back on Wednesday.